Okay, we're live with one person.
Wonderful.
Go ahead, Jen.
Wonderful. So, welcome everybody. Thank you, Richard, for inviting me. Well, Richard and Joe for inviting me to be a part of IAMday. I'll just give a brief introduction. My name is Jen Wheaton, and I am a holistic performance coach as well as a longtime yoga teacher and martial artist and parent and all of the important life things that we do. And Richard and Joe invited me to share some of my personal practices, particularly around the equinox, the new moon, that are associated with going into times and experiences of silence during a new moon. And this particular new moon is so lovely because it does fall on the autumnal or the fall equinox. So that brings in some practices that are associated with balance and the celebration of and reflection upon all of that light and life and movement that was happening during the summer months, and then moving into that time of approaching darkness, that time of inner reflection, that time of moving inward, but also even the celebration that we have around Thanksgiving. And are we actually practicing our our gratitude or the giving thanks in a way that is in alignment with and in tune with who we are now? So that's the whole purpose of the silence is to be able to go into those deep listening practices, a deep listening time, and even to question and contemplate, am I practicing, celebrating, speaking, enjoying, expressing gratitude in the way that is in full alignment with who I am now? And I am so grateful to be invited to be a part of IAMday by sharing these practices with you. So the how we're going to practice today is, I often get questions. Richard is probably one of those people who asks me one of these questions first is, when you go into silence, what do you do? What is it that you're doing? Do you say nothing? Do you, right, Richard? Do you remember ever asking me that? Like, what does a day of silence
Yes.
actually look like for you? Yeah, it's
I thought you wore a sign that said, I'm practicing silence, so don't talk to me.
I do actually do that. That I do that sometimes. I need to get one of those enamel pins that says that, and you'll see that at in ashrams in meditation retreats, because there are people that will practice silence while they are amongst loved ones in meditation experiences. So what I do move about the world, I don't sequester myself in a cave or in my room. Um, but I do have to sometimes have a piece of paper that says I'm observing a day of silence. I've even attended hockey games where I'm observing clients during a day of silence, and I have a little sign. Interestingly enough, many people will ignore it, and then some people see the sign as a challenge. They try to get me to say something, which is delightful. I actually find it quite it's such a human delight.
Isn't it the mind? Isn't it the mind kind of going, the mindset go like this, and everybody tries to get to break their character?
They do. That's exactly what it's like. Practicing charades, essentially. And um, I, I have to say, there have been some people who have expressed such profound respect when I share with them, and I share with them with a smile. It's it the that happy-go-lucky, "Hey, great to see you," and trying to engage in conversation, and then it shifts into a, "Oh." Like, they shift into silence, and their whole demeanor becomes very essenceful as opposed to g outwardly expressive. So it's a really, really interesting dynamic. Obviously, some of my silent time is spent alone. I will go into a sensory deprivation tank and completely relax. I mean, that is something that nobody needs to see me do on film or in front of others, but, there are other practices that are are in place to encourage deep listening, to encourage reflection, and also to encourage the tapping into essence while still experiencing life amidst noise, sometimes chaos, and life unfolding. So, what we're going to be doing today are 5 practices and 1 bookend. And that is to show you some of the things that I will do at during a day of silence that are designed to bring myself to center, bring myself into a place of balance. So that one of those is going to be a breath practice. So that's what we'll be starting with. Next will be a sensory acknowledgement practice, an awareness of the senses. And nothing is more self-loving than to simply acknowledge the senses for what they are as at a very human primal level. So there's a sensory exploration, then the meditation, and the meditation is based on a singular word, and that word is one. That is it. No attachment to that word at all. It is simply an anchor word. And then the next 2 parts are so, so beautiful. One of them is known as love beaming, so expressing love outwardly in 5 different layers. And then finally, an expression of gratitude, which is done in silence. And I will be facilitating and guiding each of these practices, letting you know when we're making the transition from one to the other. Once I complete the sharing of those 5 practices, I will again let you know that Richard will be taking over at the end of this call, at the end of this experience. And I will take us through the chanting of 5 ohms, which is the sound current that I express before going into silence. So that is the last sound that I make before going into silence. And then it is also the first sound that I create when I come out of silence. So that's what I mean about the bookend. So we get to experience that together. And it's at any time, if you want to review these practices in parts, as individual practices, or even as an entire practice, feel free to come back to the recording of this and engage with it at any time. And Richard is going to be our on camera student for this for us. So Richard, as a student, do you have any questions about anything that I've shared with you so far?
Well, thank you, Jen, and that sounds like a interesting way to enter and then complete this practice of silence. So I'm looking forward to participating, that's for sure. And I don't really have a question, a couple of points. One, actually, when you mentioned the sensory deprivation tank, that sounds kind of serious, actually. But what I found very interesting, as I know you've done this in the past, but we had a guest on one of our roundtables, and his name's Bill Kirst. He's out of Seattle, actually. He lives in Seattle and is a Substack author as well. He said he's doing up to like 40, maybe even 60 minutes. He says, but don't jump in. If you're a hero, you think you can do 45 minutes. It seems to be a little too much. So how do you feel about that? And how much time are you spending in there? And what would you suggest for a novice like me?
Ooh, okay. I love this question, and I agree with you. Don't try to be a hero. This is not performative. It is practice, and we don't realize just how much we rely on our senses and the expression as well as the interpretation that comes from our senses as the framework within which we live our lives. So when in sensory deprivation, all of that has been broken down. It goes away, and many people get very, very uneasy. You do not go into sensory deprivation in order to torture yourself, and you are not a better practitioner by staying in there longer. That's not really what it's about. The sensory deprivation is a way of returning to center, that understanding that even our senses are habitual. Our senses will go into an anticipatory state. They will be looking for information and start to pre-express sometimes pain, for instance. All of us have had that experience where we anticipate pain, so we avoid certain movements, or we see somebody else in pain and we feel it on their behalf from either an empathetic standpoint, or the mirror neurons will create that, oh, like we flinch while somebody else is experiencing pain.
Mm,
So that is our senses sending out messages and even going through interpretation, not necessarily accurately, but habitually. So I will let you know the minimum amount of time that I spend in a float tank, in a sensory deprivation tank is 90 minutes, and
Ooh,
I will actually stay in between 3 to 4.5 hours on my day of silence.
wow.
So it is it y but Richard, you know me, I've been practicing a monthly day of silence for years now,
Mm,
and I'm comfortable with it. I know that itchiness,
yeah.
that need to express in a habitual way is simply the nervous system going through a reorganization period.
Okay.
It's going through a
What
reorganization phase.
what would you suggest starting point? Because I'm sure that facilitated the person running the tank and the facility doesn't just slam the door. They probably give you some heads up. What would be the recommended starting point for somebody new, perhaps?
30 minutes is a really good place to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you
Good.
don't have to go into full sensory deprivation as well. Like you can have music playing while you're in a tank. So include some of your senses while going into a state of floating and
Yeah, that sounds like
suspended
nice.
animation. And sometimes some people will have these little glow in the dark lights that are in there. There are
Mm,
tools. Some people use it as stretching time. They simply
okay.
use it as an opportunity to cut out some of the noise that they know can be distracting for them,
Mm-hmm.
but they
Yes.
include other sound and other sensory experience of their choosing. So that's another way to do it. So you could stay
Okay.
in there for 90 minutes and have some light and sound that's happening at the same
Excellent.
time.
Well, I like floating. We paddle on the lake together on this stand-up paddleboard, so I think I'll give that a try. One last one and a quick one before you start your session was I'm always curious. I know how we pronounce om or we say it aum. Which way do you spell it? I've heard it aum and well, seen it aum or om. Which way or is it doesn't matter?
It it doesn't matter. So and I really appreciate you asking that. The AUM can help people to understand that there are 3 different layers to the sound. So think of it as, uh, starting at the back of the throat,
Oh,
at the back of the mouth, then to the middle, and then to the front where you feel the vibration of "om" at the lips and even at the roof of the mouth.
okay.
The the starting point is where it's almost like you're at the back, v wide space of a cave, and then you start to feel the resonance of sound at almost at the ceiling or the roof of the cave, which is like the roof of the mouth and the base of the tongue. And then om is the M sound at the end is that full vibration. It's that moment where you can feel the impact of what you're saying because it
Mm,
vibrates right here. And
great.
that for me, from a practical standpoint, that's the purpose of chanting Om is physically feeling the impact of the words that I'm about to speak.
Excellent. I like the visualization of the 3 points of the sound coming from back, middle to the lips. And I just want to share, I know this is only your second live, and you're doing a fantastic job on here on Substack, Jen. It's great to have you and be part of your session. But I want to ask, are you open to if anyone leaves and or wants to make a comment or a question on this session anytime during they can text it in the message box?
Absolutely. Yeah, if anybody would like to leave a message, feel free to do so. I will allow Richard to respond or let me know that those messages are coming through. I'm simply going to be d be taking you through the session
Okay.
today, and, any comments are obviously welcome. So in between, Richard, if you could do this for me, if you
Hmm.
notice that there are some questions and I finished that first breath practice and those questions are there, could you relay those to me and then I
I
can
will,
actually pass
for
those on?
sure.
Or so
Uh,
I can respond to them in
Yes.
time?
Yes. Okay.
Okay,
Well, thank you.
wonderful. Okay, you're so welcome. And yes, and thank you. Thank you everybody who's showing up. I see some names, some beautiful souls who are joining us live here. So thank you for being here. So I'm going to jump in right away. And that is going to be with a breath practice. And I choose this breath practice during the equinox because it honors in our physical body what is happening with the planet, with our seasons. So tomorrow is going to be the autumnal equinox, and that's the time where darkness and light are balanced. They are in equal measure for our experience. So we're having a breath practice that is going to mimic that. So many know this as an alternate nostril breath.
Mm,
Anuloma viloma is another name for it, sun and moon breath, which is a really lovely way of thinking about it. And really, what we're doing is inhaling and exhaling through the nostrils individually and equally. The way that our we breathe through our nostrils is oftentimes an indicator of which side of the brain we're using more. But if we do have a clog or some blockages on one side, or we are breathing more prominently through one side, and that does happen naturally. That's not a dysfunction. I just want you to know that. But if that is happening, it can affect the way that we think. It can affect the way that we interpret. It can affect the way that we receive information, and also the way that we deliver information. So oftentimes we can go through a subtle shift on behalf of ourselves and those with whom we are communicating by simply balancing our breath. And it is a way of balancing our brain. So for those of you who do like to use hand mudras or hand gestures, you can hold your non-dominant hand in Gyan Mudra. It's not necessary, but it's available to you. And just let the hand rest in the lap. Or you can simply have the hand resting palm facing up or palm facing down. Anything that is comfortable. The spine is upright and erect, but not rigid. You're not trying to hold yourself up. You're in a relaxed position, letting the bony part of your butt actually be the part that's on your seat, or if you're sitting on the floor, that works as well. We're going to be using our thumb and our ring finger of our dominant hand to close the nostril. So if in my case, right thumb will be covering the right nostril, and then the right ring finger will be covering the left nostril. What I do ask people to look for is make sure that as you're covering your nostrils, you're not pushing your head to the side. So there is some awareness of where we are in space while this is happening. Once we get into the rhythm of this breath practice, it's very common for us to completely forget about where the body is in space. So there will be a moment to check in on that. Okay. So I will show you this practice one time through, and then we will do 3 rounds of it together. So sitting with a nice upright spine, the the non-dominant hand can either be in Gyan Mudra or resting palm facing up or palm facing down. Preparing the right hand, we'll simply inhale through the nose. Exhale, release that breath. Inhale through the nose again, covering the right nostril with the right thumb, and exhale through the left nostril. Inhale through the left nostril, cover the left nostril with the ring finger, exhale through the right nostril. Inhale through the right nostril, changing, covering the right nostril with the thumb, exhaling through the left nostril. And we'll do this together. Inhale, left nostril, change, cover left nostril with the ring finger, exhale. Inhale through the right nostril, change, cover the right nostril with the thumb, head is still centered, exhale through the left nostril. Inhale, left nostril, change, cover left nostril with the ring finger, exhale through the right side. Inhale through the right side. Change, cover the right nostril, pause the breath for a moment. Exhale through the left nostril, final round. Pause briefly at the bottom of that breath and inhale. Pause at the top of the breath, change. Exhale through the right side. Pause at the bottom of the breath, inhale. Pause at the top of the breath, remove the hand and exhale through both nostrils and inhale. Beautiful. And exhale. Well done. And that is your balancing breath. Any comments or questions before we move on to the next part?
I'm glad I have a Kleenex handy. Excuse me.
That is a really good point. Thank you for saying that right now. It is amazing how breathing through your nose for about 3 minutes will actually start to drain the sinuses. It is a thing that happens. It starts to clean up everything because the nostrils do actually pick up the particles that are in the air and around us. It's a natural filtration system. So breathing through the nostrils is actually really, really helpful for ensuring that we are breathing cleaner air.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. I love that breath. It is, if I'm feeling rigid in my thinking, that's the breath that I go to. So now we'll move into the sensory experience, and I'm going to take you on a little walk, a little journey through all of your senses. You will become your own guide. I'm simply there to let you know where you are in the process because they're your senses. They're going to give you all kinds of information. So we'll do a walk through each of the senses. And what I'm going to be doing is guiding your attention to just how much information your senses pick up in very subtle ways, in very obvious and dominant ways, and that your senses are able to hold an awareness of what you're experiencing uh, in that spectrum of experiences from the most subtle to the most prominent. And when our attention goes to the senses, it's very difficult for our mind to be running other programs in the background because we've actually given our attention something very specific to do. Your eyes will be closed throughout this entire experience. And there's you can be sitting in a relaxed position. You can be a little bit more upright. Upright helps you to be slightly more alert. Your back can be resting on a back seat. Some people will do this lying down, but it is quite common for people to fall asleep when we do this practice lying down. So if you do have a hard time getting to sleep at night, this is actually a really nice little practice that you can do for yourself as well. Okay. So we are going to be having our eyes closed through all of this. Even though we are using sight, the eyes will be closed at while we're going through the sense of sight. Okay. So
At least our viewers will be comfortable. We can't see them, but they can see my eyes and your eyes closed. So
that's right.
no, they can't because their eyes are closed. We're all
Their
safe
eyes are
here.
closed. So we'll have no idea if anybody's cheating or not.
No,
But
no.
we'll just assume that everybody is having their own personal best
Okay.
experience. Okay. So the sense that we are beginning with is the sense of sound. So eyes are closed. And this is where we go into the practice of listening. We're taking our attention to one basic question, and that is, what do you hear? What is the most prominent sound in your experience right now? What do you hear? And allow those sounds that are filling your sense of hearing to fill your whole experience of attention. What do you hear? And now slowly transition your awareness to the most subtle sound that you hear. That sound may be the sound of your own breath. It may be a lawnmower off in the distance or the rhythmic dripping of rain. Bring your attention to the most subtle sounds in your experience. And now allow your sense of hearing to include the whole spectrum of sound from the most prominent sound to the most subtle sound and everything in between. Everything in between. What do you hear? Now inhale and exhale and transition your awareness to the sense of touch. What do you feel? Beginning with the most prominent sensation. And that prominent sensation may even be something that is vying for your attention because it's a sense of pain or discomfort. That most prominent sensation may be a sense of tickling or tingling. It may be a sense of warmth, heat, or possibly even cool. What do you feel? And now begin to transition your awareness and your attention to the most subtle sensation. It may be your clothing on your skin, the sensation of breath moving through your nostrils, the feeling of your feet within your shoes or barefoot on the ground. What do you feel? And now allow that sense of touch to include the most prominent, the most subtle, and all the feelings of touch that exist between the prominent and the subtle. Now inhale, exhale, and now transition your attention and your awareness to the sense of sight. What do you see? Eyes are still closed. It could be the light that gathers at the corner of the eyes. When our eyes are closed, sometimes what we simply see is darkness, or these little shapes that float through our field of vision. Getting with the most prominent visual input. And now shifting your attention to the most subtle visual input. What do you see? And now allow your visual field, your visual attention to include the most prominent, the most subtle visual cues, and all the visual cues in between. What do you see? Now inhale. And as you exhale, transition your awareness and your attention to What do you smell? Beginning with the most prominent scent that is filling your attention at this time. If you have a pet that is close by, it may be them. There may be something cooking in the background. Coffee tends to fill our sense of smell very dominantly in many households. It could be a cleaning product for your body or for your home. And now shifting your awareness to the more subtle scent. There may be somebody who is cutting their lawn way off in the distance. It may be the scent of fabric on whatever that you are sitting on or close to. It may be a lotion or a shampoo smell. What do you smell? And now allow your attention to be held by all the scents from the most prominent to the most subtle and everything in between. To inhale and exhale. As you exhale, transition your awareness to what do you taste? It may be your toothpaste. It may be the coffee that you had or the tea that you were drinking earlier. You may have had a drink of water, and your sense of taste is able to pick up some of the minerals that are in that water. Sometimes there is an echo of a food that you ate that will show up on your palate. And now start to bring your awareness to the most subtle of tastes. Maybe the taste of your own saliva. It could be the taste of thirst or the approach of hunger. What do you taste? And now allow all of those tastes between the most prominent and the most subtle to coexist in your sensory awareness, your sensory experience, all at the same time. Inhale. And as you exhale, allow as many of your senses to come online and fill your attention at the same time as possible. It may be two senses happening simultaneously. It may be all five. And simply allow for a full sensory experience just for a few moments. Inhale and exhale, and you can slowly begin to open your eyes. Beautiful. Lovely. And before we go to our next stage, Richard, on behalf of everybody who is here, have you got any questions or observations that arose out of that sensory experience?
I felt comfortable through that process, and it was unique to me, the when you suggested the dominant and then the non-dominant taste or smell. And it's amazing how many things you can experience when you're quiet and calm and not like distracted by even your eyesight at that point. You can pick up on these subtleties. So that was very calming and relaxing.
I love hearing that. Yeah, beautiful. Who knew that something that can be so distracting and disruptive as our senses, that it can also be the source of great calm, ease, and centeredness. Our senses are such beautiful allies when we give them a chance to be. And attention is love. Love is attention. So when we give them when we give them something to pay attention to with love and with care, it's amazing how they come online and serve us incredibly well. So thank you for that insight. Actually, I love that.
Yeah, well, Ellie also mentioned that she's done this before, but can never really taste and smell because she sort of needs a candle or some kind of food around to be able to do that. So I think she's saying that unless there's something actually there available, she can't sense that.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really lovely thing to be able to acknowledge. So if in when doing a practice, and if there is some concern around a sense that's not going to come online with any kind of ease, it's okay to preload that sense with something to begin with. And what I would encourage though is um to over time gradually add more things for those senses to pay attention to, and have them in the space simultaneously. So it could be a candle, a bar of soap, and a piece of fruit. You may have those three things, and allow your senses to pick up each one of those in variety of layers, and then allow all three to fill the senses at the same time. And that's a way of actually helping to hone our and hone our sensory skills, but also a way to to train the senses to be able to pick up more experiences in our environment.
Well, I'm so grateful that today, and for many of you that have been experienced forest fires over throughout the summer, I didn't smell any smoke today, which was a nice thing. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, that is really beautiful. It's a wonderful comment to make, right? Yes, like, right? Like, having a sense of smell as an ally is it's an opportunity to experience gratitude because you're experiencing the absence of something that can be incredibly distracting and disruptive to our experience. So, yeah. Okay, moving on to our next sensory, or to our next experience, and this is it's a very sweet meditation. It is so, so kind. I love the kindness of this meditation, and I think kindness in silence is really key to a silent experience. And what it's designed to do is bring the mind to an anchor point. And in this meditation, the anchor point is going to be the word one. So actually going to be saying the word one out loud in a variety of different ways. It won't be in any particular rhythm. It starts out in a bit of a rhythm, but it starts to change as we go along. And I do say it differently throughout the meditation. Many people think that meditation is all about emptying the mind completely. No, it's about knowing your own mind, and knowing your own mind with kindness is really key. So think of it as one being an anchor, and the mind actually being tethered to that anchor with a chain. But the mind is actually a boat floating on the top of water. And the boat may end up going far afield. Who knows where the mind is going to go? But what helps to maintain that sense of centeredness and anchoredness is that the mind brings its attention back to the anchor itself without ever having made floating off into a different direction ever wrong. It was simply floating. That's all that this is. And the one is at first going to be at the forefront of the mind, but eventually you allow it to fall into the background, knowing that the anchor is there, that the mind has its own free will and capabilities. It's almost the anticipation of the anchor one being there for you as well. Okay, so again, we are sitting upright. The spine's a little more upright yet not rigid, and we're not straining to hold that position. We're going to stay with this for about 3 minutes. Okay, it might be a little bit longer than that, but around a 3 minute time period. The eyes are closed for this little meditation. So we'll inhale. Good. And exhale, simply land wherever you are. Allow that exhalation to be a landing point and listening for the word one. One, 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 one. Allow the word one to fall to the middle range of the mind. One, one. The mind may float over to questions about one. Why one? Is one a number? That's not one. Those are thoughts around one. Return to the awareness of one. One, one. Allowing one to move to the background of the mind. One, 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 One. 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 Now inhale. As you exhale, remember that one is there and will slowly surface up and away from the anchor that is one. Know that that anchor is there at any time that you need it or want it, or to bring the mind closer to an anchor whenever that is needed. And we'll clip that attachment to one for now, knowing that it is always there. Beautiful. You can slowly begin to open your eyes. Okay, lovely. Beautiful. So we choose one not for any reason other than it's a concept, an idea, or a word that pretty much everybody understands. So it is amazing how the mind will try to create stories, narratives, even venture off and start counting to 100 because one was the starting point. And we start to realize that mind simply thinks. It's a thing that it does. And we don't have to follow it down a path, but if the mind does meander off or float far afield and toward the horizon, you don't have to fight or struggle or shame or over intellectualize your way back to one. You simply can go there immediately, and the anchor is there for you.
Thank you.
Beautiful. So now we'll move into this. I love this next part. This is known as love beaming. And we're simply what you are doing is expressing love silently out into the space and place around you. There are no caveats to it. There's no earning it. It is your felt and lived experience. So what we begin with is you sitting as though you are face to face with someone or something that you know that you love deeply. In my case, I choose my daughter pretty much every time. Like she's my go-to, and and that's an easy access to love right away. So the experience is reflected out or expressed out, beamed out to her as though she's right here. It's very very close. And then we move to the next layer, and that is to anyone or anything that is in our immediate vicinity. So within our home would be an example, or if you're sitting on a park bench, it could be whoever is in eyesight or from that park bench, wherever that may be. Then we extend it out to community, whatever community it is that we're in. Almost,
That this is a community, right?
pardon me.
This is a community right here.
Absolutely. It can be the community of people who are here online right now, or it can be the community that you live in.
Mm.
Just it's nice to have what are understandable or experienced boundaries to that space. Otherwise, it's almost hard to know that our beam is actually landing on something. So that's, if you know where the boundaries are of your community, then that can be incredibly helpful. And then we go to our nation. Again, we have a sense of of where the boundaries or borders are of that nation, beaming out in all directions towards those boundaries, and knowing that that love is hitting everything on the way out to those boundaries, and then we go all the way out to the entire planet. But what we do is we start with the easiest access to a love feeling that we have, that we know. Again, for me, it's my daughter, and that love is the same for all the other experiences. And if at any time it feels like the love diminishes, we return to that original source. We return to that one that love floods from us towards no matter what, to remember what that feeling is and then continue to practice further out. So I'll take you through that as well. And again, the eyes are closed, and most of us can have in our minds exactly who or what. A pet is often very, very similar to that. Trees do this for me as well. Like if I need to feel love, I just go and sit close to a tree, and it's like I, for whatever reason, I love trees. Like they just, it's such a unconditional like good expression of love that comes from me. So if I'm ever needing to feel love, trees are one of my access points as well. So each of us has an experience of that. So as we're sitting here quietly on our own, bring into your awareness any person or anything that elicits the feeling of love from you, and beam that love to that person as though they are right in front of you. See them, understand their shape, and allow that love to bubble to the surface. Allow that love to fill up within you to the point of beaming out to the beloved. Allow your presence to be nourishment for that love. And now maintain that sense of beaming that love to that one person and extend it out as a beam out into the space around you, your immediate environment, your home. It's not uncommon for, if you have pets, for a pet to walk by at these moments. You're drawn to that love. The people in your household, the plants in your household, and continuing to reinforce that love beam that is coming from you in all directions. Now beam it out to the furthest reaches of your community. Beaming love from you, touching all those little corners of your community. And now remembering that initial feeling of love for that beloved, for that loved one. Begin to extend that love. Some might get a little bit more difficult, but out into your entire nation. Whatever the concept of nation is for you. And if at any time the love feels like it's beginning to diminish because our ideas or our thoughts can start to interpret who or what deserves love, return to the beloved, return to that feeling. Remember that that feeling is yours and beaming from you, beaming and expressing from you. Continuing to beam, continuing to express, continuing that beaming. Beautiful. And now, again, if you felt any diminishing or a reduction in that sensation of love, return to that original beloved, regenerate that love, and then begin to beam out even further over and around the entire planet and beyond. Beaming love, you are a source of love, a lighthouse of sorts, a love source, a light source with a capacity to be. Beautiful. And continuing with that beaming as you inhale deeply, intensifying the source of beam, that love light. Good. Exhale and send out one last little love beam, love blast. Lovely. And in this state of love, we move into section 5, and this is allow 5 things for which you are grateful to surface. See them, feel them, touch them, that experience of gratitude. There is no limit to that which you can experience and express gratitude. Nothing needs to burn it from you. Whatever surfaces and bubbles into your awareness, acknowledge it, give it a little nod. Yes, I am grateful for this. Yes, I am grateful for you. Beautiful. And inhale. Lovely. And exhale. Now, in this state of gratitude, I'm going to be transitioning into my silent time and handing over to Richard the time and the space to be able to share with you some information about IAMday and information that the community may need or want to have. And but what I do when I'm going into silence is I will chant the mantra Om, and when I chant the mantra Om, I chant it as basically 3 parts in 2 different directions. I think of it as an ah, o, and ah way at the back of the throat, or we refer to it as the Gyangufa. It's the cave of wonders. Ah is at the back, o is at the middle where you feel the resonance, and is at the lips. And that point at the lips is where you can actually feel the physical impact of the words you're about to speak coming forward as a physical sensation. So is what it sounds like. But you can also think of it in terms of depths, where ah is down in the belly, o is in the chest, and is up in the head, because this is where it resonates. So we'll be chanting 5 ohms with an inhalation in between. Once those 5 ohms complete, I will stop speaking. I will stay, nod, receive whatever information you want to share, and then I will be actually getting on a flight to head back to the Okanagan from Seattle. So thank you all for being here. And Richard, is there anything that you wanted to share with me before we go into our ohms?
For sure. I wanted to say that it was very interesting that we talked about sharing love with that human, like your daughter or someone close to us. But then when you mentioned trees, I was very interested in that, and I know that you do have a love for trees. But I also realize on this live today, we have someone that teaches forest bathing. That's part of her practice, and then another one, peaceful healer. If you're still on here too as well, she has a group on Insight Timer about the healing power of trees. So It's interesting that, and then we're in the fall equinox today, and that's all about, no, it isn't all about trees, but that's how we associate fall, is the leaves falling from the tree. So we can be, and that was one of the things I was grateful for through my little practice that you had us, was the tree part. So thank you for setting that up for us. And I know you have a flight, so let's take that time so that you can finish closing this chapter of the this past quarter and the new moon. So carry on, and we look forward to following you in that home.
Lovely. Okay, so we'll sit here together and know that you can simultaneously honor the personal space while honoring the collective and the community space. We'll inhale deeply through our nose. Exhale fully and completely, grounding and landing. And we'll inhale to prepare to chant Om. We'll chant 5 together. Om.
Thank you, Jen. And thank you all that have attended here today. I hope that you have learned some new ways of looking at this transition in this fall equinox and the new moon that's presenting itself to us today. I know you're in silence, Jen, and I feel that you've really made an impact here today. For those of you that listened today, thank you. And this will be available again. So if any of you want to advise any of your friends, family, please share that this will be a recorded offering on IAMday.org. You can get the live schedule there at IAMday.org. And Jen, and along with other fellow teachers and presenters from here on Substack, Insight Timer, we have meditation teachers, David G., who's renowned worldwide. We have sound healing. We have journaling. We even have a yoga nidra, Jen. So that'll be for people that want to relax and maybe find a way to sleep better. So there'll be so many offerings, and there's the way to get involved is join. You have to hit the join to get this live schedule, and that's again iamday.org. If you want a nice commemorative T-shirt like this, you can get you can shop on our store for the Feel Real again series of T-shirts. There's I am kind, I am love, I am peace, I am strong, I am grateful, I'm everyone. I guess I am everyone would be a great T-shirt to support that love beaming message that you shared with us. So do shop on our store. It helps support us here at IAMday. And that's all I have. And we're just a little past the top of the hour. So thank you again, Jen. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And I hope to see you on September 24th, IAMday, this coming week. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.